Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and this is episode 548. It's a lot of episodes, gotta say. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Prez, that is at _Presidente on Twitter. Prez, how you doing?
I am doing all right on this fine wintry weekend. On the heels of a laugher versus Danny Ainge's Utah. We can end the tank at any moment, Jazz.
Yep. As soon as they decide to be good, they'll be good. So there's nothing to be worried about with them. We're gonna we'll probably shit on the Jazz a little bit, but we'll talk more about the Knicks. We might talk even about a certain Greek. But before we do that, I do have to make a few announcements. First, that Strickland has a YouTube channel where, if you're currently watching, and you've not done so already, please like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. That'd be huge help to us. The Strickland also has merchandise, which you can find on our website at www.thestrick.lim. There's a link that'll take you to our merchandise store and all kinds of cool stuff on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we got it. The Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of different tiers. There's $6 tier that gets you access to Pod Strickland podcast that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to Takes from His Bozos, a podcast hosted by Andrew Steele, aka Doug, along with Zach Blatter, and you get access to the Strickland Discord where the conversation never stops. There are further tiers. There's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, the pod that I host with YC, where we rant and rave about the Knicks and more. You also get access to wonderful premium articles by Matthew Murdo, one of the best in the business. And you get access to Strickland Info, which guesses is a podcast with the NFL that is hosted by Constantine Machkos and Desmond Novak. The first tiers, $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and $100 tier. Those come with a variety of additional benefits, like listening in our pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially co-host a podcast alongside yours truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not. None of this would be possible without you, and none of this would be possible without our sponsor, FanDuel. If you want to play some bets for college football championship week, or just Sunday NFL or random NBA games, FanDuel has you covered. Definitely check it out. Okay. Look, the Knicks, they played a game against the Utah Jazz. They kicked their ass. They're a much better basketball team. I don't know that this game, it doesn't tell you really anything about this team other than the fact that, for the better, I think, the offense, the reason you hired Mike Brown is to get more out of your team offensively. How successful he is at that, ultimately, we won't know until the postseason. But at least the regular season version of this team early on looks fantastic on the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively, there's some interesting stuff they're doing. I think they're improving, but the strength of this team is the offense. And, yesterday was an explosion. Deuce McBride goes 7 of 10 from 3. Jalen Brunson goes 6 of a very nice 6 of 9 from 3. And it was great. I think the main thing I took away from the game yesterday, if there is a main takeaway to have, other than just like it's very cool when guys make a lot of threes, is they beat the shit out of the Jazz, which they should have done and certainly did. But the minutes were great. I mean, Clarkson led the team in minutes with 31. Him and Brunson were tied at 31. Everybody else played less than 30 minutes. I don't. We know what the previous coach did, how he operated, and so to not just kick the Utah Jazz's ass, but also kind of get the benefit of it in terms of putting less wear and tear on guys, keeping their minutes low, and still handle. I mean, the entire fourth quarter was garbage time. That's great. And this is kind of part of the reason, or a significant part of the reason why you hire a coach like Mike Brown.
Yeah, I don't know how much there is to add on Utah. They're not good on either side of the ball. They have one theoretically good player in Lauri Markkanen and one even more theoretically good role player in Keontae George, and that's basically it. The corpse of Kevin Love was running around doing things.
I'm not gonna lie, he hit a 3, and I was like, "What the fuck, dude?"
That joint was a moon ball. That was a moon ball 3, and I remember I remember because immediately after that, I was like, he still got it. This man once won a 3-point shootout, lest we forget. But that's about all he
That's
had
true.
out there. I don't think this is where he envisioned him spending the twilight of his career. But then again, that's what the money's for. So, it is what it is. It was cool, like you said, to see, you know, we haven't really, like, for all the explosions we've had on offense, we haven't really had many games where it's like legit like 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes of like true garbage time, like Kolek, Diawara, all these guys. And it was cool to see not only we wanted to see Diawara play, right? So like it was cool to see
Yeah.
Diawara play versus these bums. It was cool to see OG Anunoby get some extra tick for his conditioning, which Mike Brown talked about after the game. It was cool to see you mentioned Clarkson getting a lot of minutes. He's been fucking terrible for the last like 6, 7
Yeah.
games. And part of that is like, when your team is shorter on depth, you lose the ability to pull the cord on hot or not type players off the bench like Clarkson. So you kind of expose yourself to more bad Clarkson minutes. And, earlier in the season, obviously Mike Brown could just pull him and play any number of players from the main guys to Shamit, Deuce, whoever. And even with Kolek in the rotation a little bit now, um, he still kind of had to play Clarkson. So you could tell, like, Clarkson has he's been kind of in his head, and he'll make these terrible decisions and then he'll like acknowledge it immediately. And you see him like kind of veer between, I want to make the right play, but I know I'm here to kind of like score, but I don't want to be dumb. And he's kind of a mess right now, and his stats have cratered. And you could tell they kind of left him out there to just kind of like work it out, which is another good thing you could do with blowout games, in addition to just doing things like letting Diawara run around or having Tyler Kolek go hunt shots versus bum ass Jazz bench players. So I don't know. Those garbage time minutes are not without their own utility, which is kind of cool to see.
Well, the good thing with Diawara is, like, I mean, not that it was a particularly competitive game, but he did play him in
Yeah.
like the actual game
Yeah,
portion
before it was
of
truly
the
a,
game.
a garbage time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was good. Like
He
that's
was ahead
that's
of Yabu
exactly,
in the rotation yesterday.
yeah. And I think, like, look, man, I think there's some fair criticism to be levied at Mike Brown with. I think there's been some weirdness with how he's handled Yabusele, but Yabu hasn't held up his end of the bargain at all. So I thought, to not shorten the rotation yesterday in a game where it's like you clearly had it under control, right? I mean, it was never in doubt at any point in that game. You start off the game 23-0. It's, it was a joke. I actually missed the start of this game yesterday. I was taking the subway to my friend's place, so we were like, I like got on the subway. I checked the score, and I was like, oh, it's 9-0. Cool. Get
Get
off the
off the
subway.
same.
Check the score. I'm like, oh, it's 28-6. This is great. Get to his place, check this, finally see what the score is at the end of the first quarter. I'm like, it's 41-13. Like, is this real? This is happening? But yeah, it was just, it's I think it's a reward for Diawara, right? In terms of, like, okay, we're in control of this game. I want to see what he maybe can do for us in semi-serious minutes here. Um, and I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's clearly a message to Yabusele, like, hey, look, like, I'm not. It's cool you signed this $5.5 million contract in the offseason, but like, I'm not here to just give you the fucking minutes. You know what I mean? Like, you got to actually you got to earn it. And fair enough. Fair enough to Mike Brown. He's
Yeah, we're at the 22 game mark, right? Like each
yeah,
coach, like Tibbs always talked about the 20 game mark as being kind of a time for him to make changes. And obviously Brown tinkers way before that. But in general, I think like that's kind of, once you hit the 20 game mark is really once you see a lot, where you see a lot of the sort of obligations related to contract status outside of like, real big money guys. Like that's when that stuff kind of begins to go up in smoke, where it's like, okay, you've had a quarter of the season.
yeah.
Like It's time.
Are
It's
you?
time. It is what it is, man, bro. Like,
Yeah,
get it
and
together.
yeah, and I think like the other piece of this is like I don't know. I don't. I'm not under the impression that Mike Brown's been perfect. Mike Brown's not under the impression that Mike Brown's been perfect. Um, but like I think the fact that he's also kind of look, he's starting. He's now put Kolek back in the rotation. And sure, some of that was maybe forced because you need to fill in minutes while OG is out. But like, I think the fact that he's using his depth at various points, it gives him more credibility um, to kind of bench a player like Yabu, where it's like it's not like you're just benching him and nobody and those minutes are now just getting distributed to like your top 7 guys and they're just playing more. Like he's actually giving guys an opportunity. And we talked about this, a couple weeks ago where I was like, actually, that might be my biggest disappointment so far in Mike Brown is that like he hasn't really given Kolek a real chance. He hasn't given DOR a real chance, right? And
And
or
that
even
was
like
kind
Huck
of
Porty.
the rub with, that was something I think we really expected with Brown because obviously with Tibbs it was like a self-fulfilling thing. It's like, oh, like we can't give these guys who haven't played minutes because they haven't proven themselves, but I'm not going to give them a chance to prove themselves even when the other guys who are more established
Right.
play poorly, right? So it was like a catch
Yeah.
22.
And
With Mike, it's like you've given them a lot of chances to play well. It's
yeah,
fine.
and like it's again, it doesn't need to be like a guy like Diawara. We know he's drafted 51st overall, right? Like I don't think anybody's getting the impression that he should come in and like look. If Diawara came in and was immediately playing like 20 minutes a night, there's a decent chance that would not be that would say something bad about where the Knicks are
It would
currently
either be a
operating.
really really great sign or a really really bad sign.
Right, and so I just think the fact that he's giving these kids opportunities even if it's not consistent, if it's just here or there, like that's kind of what the point of the regular season is, like using these guys. So, he's given Kolek an opportunity. I think he likes Diawara and is going to sporadically sprinkle him in. And same for Huck Porty. I think it was good to see Huck Porty the other night have a really nice game, I thought, against Charlotte. So, yeah, all things considered, I think this was a nice win. The Knicks are in a nice stretch. They obviously have a big game against Orlando tomorrow. I'm not going to do much of a preview of this game, but it would be very nice to beat this Orlando team who is playing much better. They kind of started picking it up a couple of games for the first time they beat the Knicks, and they've just now carried that forward. Paolo's return might unfortunately hurt them, but they are playing good. And, I think this is a good test for the Knicks. We know that the Knicks at times
Anthony
over the last
Black,
few
as
years
soon as I picked him up in fantasy, decided to turn back into a fucking bum.
don't
So
don't don't drop him.
I'm gonna keep him through the weekend. Don't worry, I got you. I'm in first place. In my league somehow miraculously. So I got a lead to spare here.
I'm a half game back of first. Look at us. Look at us, the fantasy basketball
Denny
kings.
Avdia appreciators unite.
I don't know about that. I,
Denny back of the basketball card stats appreciator.
yeah, fucking this. I can't. Every time I look at his box score, I'm just like, so you were fucking 5 of 16, but you somehow scored 35 points because you went 15 of 17 at the free throw line. Why
I'm
is this
sure most
happening
of
every night?
I'm sure most of our listeners know, but in case you don't, Denny Avdia has had, I think, 15 free throws or more 6 games in a row, which is like actually insane to say out loud. Like he's fucking prime Wilt Chamberlain or some shit.
Like he's SGA or something, man. Come on, what are
SGA
you
has
doing
never
here?
done that. I promise you, SGA has never had 15 free throws in 6 straight games. The list of
It's
players to do
crazy.
that in the last 10 years is probably James
Denny
Harden
Avdia.
and Denny Avdia. That's it, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Anyway,
I felt a little gross when I drafted him, but I was like, yeah, some things are bigger than some things are bigger than my feelings, and fantasy basketball is one.
exactly.
Um, But yeah, like and just
It's not
bring
our
it back to
fault.
the
We're
Knicks.
blessed with ball knowledge.
But yeah, just bringing it back to the Knicks, it's like, or this game against Orlando, like this is a team we know their size at times has given the Knicks issues. They embarrassed the Knicks, quite frankly, on the defensive end of the floor this last time they played. And yeah, I think I'm not. This is not like a must-win game. I'm not gonna fucking call it that. And it's absurd if anybody thinks that way. But it would be very nice for the Knicks to kind of get one back on this Orlando team because I have a feeling that they are going to be seeing them later this season, and give them something to think about. But I like where the Knicks are right now. I think their offense, like the process is, it's not consistent all the way through, maybe, but they're definitely getting there. And man, like just to kind of turn it over to something very specific before we get into you know a certain Greek fella in Milwaukee. But um, I just think it's like this little run that Deuce is on. I mean, this is I
This
think
is
you're seeing
crazy, man.
it is crazy, but I also think you're seeing like he was not empowered like this under Tibbs.
No.
And that's not to say obviously like well, I mean, not that I need to tell anybody here to watch it, but like if you're just watching Deuce when he's on the floor, it's not like we're talking about he's running, 15 pick and rolls and creating off the bounce or anything, but just the confidence and the complete green light to just like, yo, if you have a sliver of space, there needs to be zero hesitation. Like you are that caliber of shooter to have that green light and that confidence from
He
your
has the
coach.
Dante light. He has the Dante
Yeah,
light. And like I
yeah,
was comparing a lot of his 3-point metrics from this year to last year. Because I was like, oh, he's taking more pull-ups. He's actually, as a percentage of his threes, not taking more pull-ups. He's taking about the same.
his
But
volume is up
the
right per 100 possession. I think it's a career high right now.
yeah, the total volume, like most players on the team, is career high. So like that by itself, which applies not just to him but to everyone, right? Like that breeds confidence. Where you see the most difference in the shot diet, I should say, at least according to the numbers, which match the eye test to me. One is like early clock stuff, like first 8 seconds of the shot clock. Again, like the rest of the team, he has a very green light for that, and like he'll take pull-ups early in the shot clock, and then late in the clock, he's also we actually don't have many grenades really this year. Like it's now that I think about it, like you rarely just see like grenade possessions because they know like who can just create like a shot, right? Like Josh has the kind of shot that he likes to create with 3 seconds on the clock, that little turnaround. Brunson has like 9,000 shots he can create with like 3 seconds on the clock. Deuce, you see the switch flip when he gets the ball with 4 seconds and there's nothing to do. He's like, all right, time for that cross pull up, the same move that he like
and
spams.
And Cat will hook somebody's arm.
Cat is like, it's time to fucking Muay Thai somebody to the skull on my way to the hoop and then pretend, how could you call that? But no, dude, this Deuce run is crazy. He's shooting like over 60% over his last 6. Has now reached over 11 threes per 100, over, I want to say like 45% from 3. He barely hits the rim these days. Threes making up a higher percentage of his shots. It was cool last year to see him hit a bunch of mid-range shots. But this year he's almost just been like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn those into threes too. So like, fuck it.
Well, I think this just gets back to the coaching thing. Like this is look, I don't understand really why our shot chart became so disgusting last year to Tibbs when previously it had been really good. I don't know what the reason for that slippage was, but it if that's happening collectively, it's because of individuals. And we saw that with Deuce, where it's like, I don't have a problem with him taking a mid-range jump shot every now and then, but it just felt like there were a couple too many, right? And that's how it just felt for like everybody on the team. Mikal obviously being the poster boy for this, but like it was just like yeah, like it's fine, I guess, but like maybe we could turn that mini into a three, or maybe we can keep the ball moving, maybe. And I think you're just seeing everybody, those little individual wins add up. And just kind of like to put a bow on it here, the Knicks are fifth in the NBA right now in 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. They are fifth in 3-point percentage at 37.8% for the season now. And you remember early in the season, we were like, God damn, this team just, they're getting all these extra possessions, but they can't make shots. The Knicks now are seventh in true shooting, and they are seventh in effective field goal percentage. So, you know, this is why, like, it's so annoying actually to say it, and you feel like, honestly, it feels like somewhat pretentious even when you say it, but you're like, it's very much early in the season, it becomes annoying to just be like, yeah, just a small sample. I'm pretty sure the Knicks are going to shoot better, and like that's my analysis. But that's really how I felt for long parts of the early season, where it was like the team can't make a shot. What's going on? And it's like, I don't know. They're just missing shots. Like, it's probably not anything that's that serious. Like, this is just a stretch of the season where they're not making shots, and it happens to be right at the start of the season. But obviously, that's ticked up now. Um, you know, a quarter of the way through, and we're kind of seeing that in all the underlying metrics. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's the Knicks offensively anyway are in a really, really good place. Defensively, like I said, I think there's stuff that they're improving at, but still need to get better. I will say, I think Karl Anthony Towns' defense for the most part this year has been fine. It's been good, and I think he deserves credit for that. So,
Yeah. This is. I'm actually gonna circle back to this when we talk about Milwaukee and Giannis, but like we're to me there's the offense is like it still has room to grow, but it's already really fucking good, right? Like the defense, um, they've put together quite a few solid defensive performances versus not so great teams, and we've seen certain players like Hart. Hart still, he still botches some stuff and gets blown by a little too much, but he's cut out a lot of the real bad stuff, so he's doing all right. Towns,
the Space Cadet stuff has come down a lot.
yeah, the Space Cadet stuff has come down a lot. He still like is more slow afoot than you want, and he's been better against bigger guys, right? Like, of course, Giannis. Like he tried his damnedest and did really well, all things considered. Even though Giannis still scored like a gazillion points.
He had like 29 points, I think, in 25 minutes or something like crazy like that.
Yeah. Towns has had he's had a little bit of slippage. But in general, especially like in help, he's been pretty solid.
You just have to accept that there's going to be like 2 or 3 possessions every game where Karl Anthony Towns' controller becomes unplugged, and that's just part of like what happens if Karl Anthony Towns is on your team. But if you're not over indexing on like those plays which are loud and terrible, the overall defense with him
he's
has
been
been
solid. He's been
it's been as
solid.
good as you could expect for Towns. Like, we
Right.
know he's not a great defender, like it's what it is.
Right. The fact that he's just been like a passable defender, like that's a huge win. And in some instances, like a little more than that. We did see I did want to touch on this briefly. I know y'all probably talked about it on the other pod, but like the game versus Boston, the weird fucking game, that was the first game where it wasn't just Cat. Like Missoula was like, I'm gonna call out a play and target a specific player every single time down the floor. Like this is fucking game 7 of the playoffs or
Jalen
something.
Brunson, welcome to your Kodak moment.
Jalen, Kolek, and Cat just kept getting their numbers called, and that's they were running all a bunch of Spain pick and rolls and just like double drags and stuff. And Cat, you could tell Cat was like, bro, I'm not trying to process all this shit right now. Like I gotta figure out who switched it with who more than twice on one play. Like fuck this.
It's
And
December.
bruh, he was so over it. It was so crazy. And like at the same time, I was like, bro, like don't let them do that to you. But at the same time, I was like, I kind of respect this. This is the equivalent of like the NBA version of like
the final pickup game.
The final pickup game, someone going like somebody who just got there for the last game, just picking up like fucking full court. And it's like, bro, like if I have another game, I'm gonna tear my ACL. I'm trying to go on chill mode for this game, and you're out here looking like Gary Payton for no fucking reason on a Tuesday evening. That's basically
Yeah.
what Joe Mazzulla was doing. So like, I don't want to hold it against him too much, because I
I
know
mean,
that like in a playoff setting, he's not going to turn into a all NBA defender, but he'll be more prepared for that kind
and
of stuff.
and honestly, I just don't even give a shit about all that because it's like, look, man, if Brunson doesn't have one of his worst games of his career, the Knicks win that
Right,
game. It's
right,
that fucking
right,
simple. Like, I
right.
don't need to, like, yeah, was everybody, is there shit that Cat could have done better?
Sure,
Hart,
sure,
Cal,
100%.
of course. But like, it's like, yeah, but your best guy, he didn't even play a below average game. He played probably
The
the worst game he's
worst.
going to play all season. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, probably the worst game he's going to play all season. I want to transition to the honest conversation. The last thing I want to say,
I got one more thing
specific,
before that, but yeah.
yeah, about the Knicks, and I'll just say this about Brunson. I think obviously Jalen Brunson's amazing. He's incredible. He is the franchise player, and he, in many ways, like, is one of the main reasons that this team is now a serious contender. Um, I think, we all think the world of him, obviously. And because of that, I think it's fair to just hold him to like an extremely high standard. And I'm happy with where overall his offense is, obviously, because his offense is always great. Um, I need him to do a better job of finding guys in pick and pops, specifically Karl Anthony Towns. I think there's way too many times that he doesn't kind of sense that the guy, that Towns is popping and he's open. And I think you're leaving like a couple of easy, clean looks from three for Karl Anthony Towns on the table that I think a player of Brunson's caliber should be able to find and create for him. And
I
he's
think a
doing
lot of the time, I think most of the time, I think he knows Towns is open. I think he's just like very, 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 very like I'm getting mine a lot, like
yeah,
perhaps too
and
much at times.
right. And so I think like, look, he's wired as a scorer. That's just kind of, you're gonna have
Sure.
moments like that. I just think that, he's got to be a little bit better with stuff like that. Um, and leaving that aside, because that's kind of like a minor quibble when
It
you
is.
know that what Brunson is doing offensively is so fucking good. And all the numbers bear it out, by the way. But like, I think defensively, I need a little bit more from him. I'm sorry. Like, I know what his limitations are.
It's
We are
the
not
off ball.
expecting.
It's the off ball
Yeah,
stuff that
yeah,
we need more
yeah,
because, like, we know, like, when some coach goes full fucking goblin mode and calls out plays to target Brunson, like, it's gonna be tough for him. He'll steal some possessions back by being strong, but like, what we don't need is you, like you say every week, like, we don't need you pretending you're gonna like protect the rim as the low man, or just stick
yeah.
with your guy in the corner, bro. Like,
And some of that I quite honestly feel is like it's cheating. He's like he wants to maybe try and get a rebound and be in that position to scoop it up and like get the Knicks going offensively. And it's like, yeah, but like, what if you just stay closer to your corner shooter so that that's not just open? And like, I just think you need more from him there. I think you need more from in terms of his attentiveness off the ball, and I think you need more from him in terms of boxing out. Like, if I were to say a specific thing that if Brunson could just do this thing for the rest of the season, I would probably be very happy with like what he's giving you defensively, generally speaking, with the understanding obviously we know what his limitations are. But like I would say one of the major factors, or a contributing factor at least, in how Indiana has beaten or how they beat the Knicks in 2 straight years in the playoffs. One thing they did a great job of in those series, in the games they won, and you can go back and watch it, is in the games they won, Aaron Neesmith, whoever you're hiding Brunson on, that guy did an exceptional job of crashing the offensive glass. And I bring that up because we saw that in the Boston game where like Jordan Walsh, right? He's just crashing the offensive glass. And I get it. Like you're small. So there are just going to be times where you're overpowered or the ball is just too high and the guy, he's got an advantage and you can live with that. What you can't live with is like, yo, man, you're fucking strong as an ox. Put your body on this fucking guy and box out. Like there's way too many times that he's just not boxing out. Like he'll even like maybe stand in the way, but it's not like you're actually boxing out. You know what I mean? You're just in the way. And I just think he needs to be better with that. Like I think that's the one thing where even with the help stuff on defense, like you kind of at times like, all right, well, if that's a scheme, I guess like that's more of a Mike Brown thing maybe than a Jalen Brunson thing. But in terms of just that boxing out, like just because you're being hidden on a bad defender, that doesn't mean your job ends when like they're not on the ball, right? Like you actually have to pay attention to them. And your job doesn't end when somebody else takes a shot, right? You've got to put your body on your man and box out. And I thought Boston did a great job of attacking that very, very specific kind of weakness of Brunson's. And it's something that I think, it's something that we've seen hurt the Knicks in the playoffs at times, in very specifically in those two series that they lost. So I'm not, this is like very much somewhat nitpicking, but like these are the type of things where it really doesn't matter that much in December, but I would like to see it improve because I know it will matter in May. It will matter in June.
Yeah, my the last thing I want to say just on the team's recent play, we've seen the wings pick it up, and now that OG's back, I mean, it was like a breath of fresh air seeing him out there on defense. Just because McCall's been awesome, but he's still, he's still gonna be tough around screens, but he's figured out ways to like be better from after the screen. So I'm not even gonna like harp on McCall. I think he's been great on defense, and
McCall pretty much just gets like an A+ for me across the board so far this season.
yeah, he's killing. And I guess like I don't know. My biggest worry roster construction wise going forward is the rim stuff. I think having OG helps with that, both because he can help protect the rim as a helper. He can stop guys from getting to the rim as a point of attack guy. But we don't really have a good rim protector right now. Towns has done an okay job, but he's Towns, right? He's not going to jump on most of the times when he's defending the rim. Mitch has been pretty bad as a rim protector and as a defender in general. We could speculate if it's lingering injury, if it's conditioning, if it's what. I don't really care. This is probably in terms of like just pure like defensive ability to impact the game, the worst he's looked in his career. Outside of that one stretch where he came back like 50 pounds overweight, I forget which season that was. So again, I don't think he doesn't appear to me to be like hugely overweight or overweight
No,
at
he's
all,
definitely
really.
not.
Yeah,
He's not. He looks fine. Like
he looks
physically.
fine, which is why I'm wondering if it's just like injury remnants or injuries that are current, and because of our depth, he's just like doing it. And
It's look, it's not necessarily a crisis or anything, but it is
it's not a.
definitely something to monitor.
This is the thing. So like we know, like the bar. Like I was thinking about like, okay, what teams have made the finals with shaky rim protection? Like the poster child is the Nuggets, right? With Jokic. You go way farther back, you got like.
Well, I mean, you could even say Oklahoma City last year because they had Hartenstein.
One could say poor rim protector Hartenstein got bailed out by having Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams behind him and Alex Caruso, lest we forget he who got many vaunted center minutes over I Hitler. Taking aside from that, you got to go further back to teams like the LeBron Cavs and shit like that. Like it's not, the bar is not high, but it is there. And right now, I don't think, like, if we can be a top 15 defense while having no real rim protector, that's actually kind of impressive to me, which is where we're at. And it speaks to, not that our perimeter defenders have been like preventing penetration left and right, but like in general, it's a talented bunch, right? When healthy, OG, McCall, Hart when he's not in bozo mode, Deuce, obviously, like that's a good group. And they can hang their hat on being solid at defense. Towns in help, again, solid in defense, not so much the primary. Good switcher, but like eventually they're gonna have to do something. They being the front office or they being Mitch, and I think it ties into the other biggest weakness, which we've seen is like you said, big ball. Some certain big ball handlers have had success. Some of that has come while OG Anunoby has been out, right?
Yeah.
Franz, notably in the last game, just went crazy versus us. It was very easy for him to just get to the shots he wanted, whether they're hard shots that he makes or easy shots that he makes. And I think that is doubled when, it like these guys are rare commodities and well paid for a reason, because it's hard to contain a big ball handler one-on-one in the NBA, especially with the way fouls are being called. So you need backup. You need bigs who can back you up. We don't have that, which is the other reason why these guys seem to go a little crazy versus us. And the Magic, who we play next, are third in the NBA in how many fouls drawn, and they're first in the NBA in percentage of their points that come from free throws. The other two teams in the top three of both those categories are the aforementioned Blazers, singularly because of Denny, and the Detroit Pistons, right? Who we know how they get down. Duran, he's not a ball handler, but he is now a big who puts it on the deck a little bit. Cade, and to a much smaller degree, Asar Thompson are wings who put the ball on the deck. And, you mentioned it with Orlando, like odds are we're going to see Orlando or Detroit and their free throw prison ball black Air Force One hoop style play in the playoffs. We'll probably see one of them. So this particular problem is something that I feel very strongly the Knicks need to solve. And I'm pretty sure the front office is aware of that, just because some of our worst outings have come dealing with that, right? Whether it's Jaylen Brown, Franz Wagner, so on and so on. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at next game. I know OG just got back, so he'll help. But, like, we're getting to the point in the season where, like, outside of potential blockbusters, like, I don't know, a Giannis trade, I think the front office is probably beginning to hone in on, like, what
Najee
they really.
Marshall, let's go.
Yo, my boy, Jersey, bring him home. But because we've heard like a lot of
You're
speculation,
not
like
even from Jersey.
Jersey's like my little brother, where it's like, okay, that's how I think a lot of New Yorkers feel about Jersey. It's like, yeah, we can make fun of you, but if I hear like Wisconsin people making fun of Jersey, it's like, yo, who the fuck are you, bro? Like, get the fuck out of here. Mind your business, okay? This is family shit over here. So, and I spent time in Jersey, okay? So let me show Jersey. Mostly,
Yeah,
I just
prep
like
school.
how Jersey players love to over dribble. That's really where my fondness for New Jersey
Well, not
basketball
Ace
comes from.
Bailey. Ace Bailey doesn't even try to dribble.
No, he's the polar. Somehow, I don't know. I don't know what
I will
happened there.
say, I know he
Which
didn't
is
have a
good.
great
It's
game
great for
yesterday.
him.
I know he didn't have a great game yesterday. I gotta say, some of the threes, like he had a couple threes that I was just like, what? Like, what?
That
Like
boy can shoot it,
you made
man.
that? Yeah,
He's
he's got
his
talent.
shot just looks it's so pure. Where like even the misses, I'm like kind of shocked that they don't go in. It's too bad there's a bunch of unserious bozos surrounding him, so he can't
Yeah. I mean, look,
make
I don't even
anything of it.
I don't even blame the players who are unserious. Like this is they're an unserious organization.
It is
Like
shocking that
Jennings,
Ace is already buying into what I said before he got picked was like he needs to go to a team where they're like, no, you're gonna focus on your off ball like movement, and you're not gonna be trying to do cross between hezzies and all that shit. And I thought there was no chance he was gonna listen to whoever, but he fired his agent, Sharif Cooper's dad, and then I guess bought into the proper game plan. So like somebody in Utah had like made a correct decision somewhere in the chain of command. I don't know.
I know. It's
It's like a
whatever. But
tree
yeah,
falling in the forest. Nobody hears it. Anyway, I say all that
it,
to
it,
say like
it-
the front office, like we've seen the beat writers say like, well, like they need the Knicks maybe
yeah,
should think about a backup point guard. We've seen obviously for good reason, right? With OG out, fans, especially myself included, discuss the need for a wing
another big wing. Yeah,
another big wing who can defend these big ball handlers and stuff like that, which is 100% like is super valid to me. If the front office circled on that as the main need, I would totally get it. Personally, I still think if Mitch doesn't fix whatever is ailing him, like having a center who you can play for 15, 20 minutes and actually be a rim protector and not sink your offense, I think that's kind of important. I think that would be more important to me than the big wing, only because I feel like the big wing thing is more of a regular season, like if OG or McCall are hurt kind of need. And in the playoffs, if OG or McCall are hurt, like we're kind of fucked anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
just like assuming they're healthy for the playoffs. Um, so yeah, I think the Magic game and a couple of other games as we hit the 30 game, as we approach the 30 game mark, we'll see. We'll begin seeing, where their eyes are meandering towards the front office. They're not going to leak that much, but I'm sure we'll have some news, some rumors.
Speaking of which, Giannis Antetokounmpo has reported this week that he is such a funny report. It was like he's going to talk to him and his agent are going to talk to the Bucks and figure out in the coming weeks whether the way it was worded, I think it was like whether what's best for him, is it staying or is it like, going elsewhere. The Knicks obviously were connected with him right before the season. Shams reporting that Giannis basically, like, if he left, he wanted to be traded to the Knicks. So presumably the Knicks being his number one kind of destination or preferred destination. Forgetting, look, Giannis is amazing. We know that Giannis is amazing. I don't. It's not really a controversial opinion. He ranges somewhere from, you could have him as high as the best player in the league, and I think you could have him as low as the third or fourth or fifth, something. He's in that conversation. He is one of the guys in the league. We all know that. Now, that being said, I think there's a lot of elements to this that are interesting and they're nuanced and it's all not just straightforward. Like, the first piece of this is, would you like Giannis on the Knicks? Yeah. And like, if you're just like, would I like Giannis on the Knicks? Yeah, of course I would like Giannis on the Knicks. That'd be great. Unfortunately, like, you don't just like get Giannis on the Knicks. He doesn't just appear on the Knicks and everything else is the same. Like, you have to give things up to get him. And so the calculus is not, is Giannis great? Do you want him on the Knicks? The calculus is, okay, Giannis is great. I want him on the Knicks. If I have to trade OG Anunoby, if I have to trade Karl Anthony Towns, if I have to trade another, Mitch, and I have to take in Kyle Kuzma's shitty contract and all these things, like, now, have I actually improved my chances of not just winning a title this year, but winning a title or contending next year, contending the year after that? Like, how does all of that weigh out? And the more and more you just kind of think of like, how could the Knicks get Giannis, given kind of their limited asset resources at hand and the players that would be required to go out, even if nothing else, just from a pure salary matching perspective, it gets into pretty dicey territory real quick. And I don't know, let's just say, like, the most ideal version, right? The best thing that you could do maybe is if you could, like, if it was just like OG and Mitch and, a couple salary fillers or whatever, like, you know, you would look at that trade on its face and be like, well, the Knicks won that trade. You're not getting Giannis for that. You're not getting Giannis for OG and Mitch and the Washington pick. You're not getting you're not getting Giannis for Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges. Like, that's not how this works. You're going to have to give up like 2 or 3 probably real legitimate players who are in your rotation. And then the calculus is, okay, well, if I give up, let's say, Mikal and Josh Hart and Deuce McBride, whatever it is, okay, I have Giannis now. Great. Am I actually more likely to win the championship this year? Maybe you are. I'm genuinely, like, not dismissing that as a possibility. Obviously, Giannis is amazing, as I said. But I don't think it's like actually that straightforward. And we're seeing, I mean, this is not a new trend, but we're seeing over years now that, this is not a league anymore where it's like get your top 3 guys and then fill out the rest of your depth chart with like minimum dudes. Like that's not a viable way to win a championship anymore. Or forget win a championship, but even contend. That's just not realistic. And that's not specific to Giannis or a Giannis trade. That's just the reality of the NBA. Bringing it back again to Giannis. The other part of this that I think people don't understand or don't fully appreciate is Giannis is not actually like this super clean fit with your main guys. Like, yes, on paper, Brunson and Giannis should be a highly effective combination. I saw Giannis play with Dame. That was not particularly encouraging. Like they were not great together. And even if you want to say, well, Dame's not what Dame once was, obviously before the injury, like, yeah, that's fair. I also think like they were supposed to amplify each other, and that never occurred. And I think a lot of that has to do with Giannis. Like Giannis wants the ball in his hands. He wants to be, a point guard effectively. He wants to be that LeBron, right? That Helio kind of centric big playmaker, like LeBron style. And he's great. He's fantastic. He's not LeBron. Like he's not what LeBron was. He's not that type of. Is he a great offensive engine? Sure. I don't think he's a guy that I trust to just run point through the regular season and 4 rounds of the playoffs. Like I don't really fully buy into that. I think that because that's how he wants to operate, you have to then like I see people suggesting like, well, what if we could trade Cat to a third team and the third team gives up a bunch of shit and then we send, and that can go to Milwaukee to get Giannis. Giannis doesn't want to play the 5. This is just a real fact. Like he does not want to play the 5. So that means to maximize him, if you were to use Karl-Anthony Towns to get him, you would now need to go find a center who can shoot the ball from 3, spread the floor for him, and provide a reasonable amount of rim protection. How many of those guys even exist? How many of them are available? And I see people, look, I'll pull this up. Kevin Danishevsky asks, Shwin, would your Giannis non-belief be swayed if we can get Turner back and presumably also have to take on Kuzma's deal? I don't understand why, like, we would be really hard-pressed in figuring out how to get, like, we already are a little bit asset poor, not a little bit, we are asset poor in terms of finding a way to get Giannis here. I don't really know. Like, I don't think Miles Turner is amazing. I don't know that his contract is great. I have a feeling they could actually get stuff for him and him not just be like a throw into the deal that they're trying to unload the contract or just move it on for neutral value. Like, I think Turner has more value than that. But again, like, it's kind of is the point is, okay, but that's the type of center you need. You need a Miles Turner. You need a guy like Kristaps Porzingis or whatever, a guy that can really spread the floor. Kristaps, if he doesn't have whatever is ailing him constantly. But like you need an elite stretch big to play next to him. And generally speaking, you would want somebody who can be a plus defender in their own right. And that's why Brook Lopez was great for Milwaukee for years and why they won the championship after they signed him is like because he provided those things. And it's why they overpaid in every which way to get Miles Turner. And the point is like how many of those guys are out there? How many and if they are out there, are they actually available? And if they are available, can you even afford to get that player? Like I just don't see it. And it's all part of why, like, I don't know, like I just really, really struggle with how 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 do I justify I want Giannis on this team? What is the price to pay for him? What am I left over with? And now, how do I fill out an ideal roster around Giannis um, with the even more limited resources that you would have available to yourself now? And quite honestly, when I just kind of game it out and think about it, I don't see it. Like I don't know that as great as Giannis is, that you're actually that there's a world where you can net him in trade and be better off. Like I don't see it, and that's a risky. It's a lot riskier than I think people appreciate. I think he's a trickier player to build with and around than people appreciate. Is it worth it? Yeah, obviously he's amazing, but do you have the the ability to put a roster around him after acquiring him to actually make it worth it? And I don't. I would be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Leon
So I
Rose
want to.
has all kinds of magic and he can pull it off. But I really I don't see it. I think it would be a mistake to I and just flatly I reject the idea of trading for him in season. You are a 55, 56, 57 win team or something. You have a good chance of being the 1 seed in the East. You have a good chance you are currently the betting favorite to come out of the East. I don't care if you want to say the Knicks can't beat Oklahoma City in a series. Maybe they can. We have seen NBA titles swing on injury luck. We saw it last year in the finals. Like, we see it every year. Things change because of injuries. I think that there's a world where even if you think the Knicks, if they played OKC, they're dead in the water, no chance they can win that series. There's a world where, like, you don't want to wish for this, but it is the reality is like, if SGA turns his ankle or whatever and he's out for 3 weeks, like, things can change like that. And that's just reality. And I think if that's like the margin that you could conceive of in your brain of like, maybe like they could win a championship if such a thing occurred, you owe it to yourself to give this group a chance. And I don't believe that you can make an in-season trade for Giannis and actually still have. I don't think you would have the same odds to win the title this year. I actually think you're in some ways kind of punting the season if you trade for Giannis in season, at least as far as the kind of packages I am expecting that would be required to go get Giannis, right? Like, I'm expecting that
Right,
it
like
might
we're
it
not
would take
we're not assuming the Knicks are gonna get a Nico Harrison special here, right? Like
right.
that's
Like
the asterisk
yeah.
here.
Like, I think it would take an OG Anunoby. I think it would take at least a Josh Hart, probably a Mikal Bridges in addition. Like, and at that point, it's like I don't know. Like, I don't know, and probably another piece, and then you're gonna have to eat the Kuzma contract, and it's like once you start kind of playing all that out, and then you think about, okay, well, what would you be left with? I don't know. I just
For
think it's difficult. I think
for
it's
people who
difficult.
don't know, in the offseason, the Knicks gained the ability to trade more of their future draft picks and include more future swaps once the season ends. So
They can't trade their 2026 pick right now, for example. Once the season's over, at the draft or right after the draft, they could trade the 2026 pick. They can trade their 2033 first. They can trade pick swaps in 2030 and 2032. Are those like the most amazing assets ever? No, but those are the type of things where maybe that can help you keep a guy here and a guy there. And
yeah,
now all
and
of a
since
sudden
the
we're
Knicks
talking
don't
about a
have
different,
yeah, the Knicks
yeah.
don't
And
have
now
a
you're thinking
marquee
about something
young guy
different.
to include, so like that makes the non-player assets that much more important to make a deal appear
Well, the
appear
DOR slander this will not go unpunished.
of course, DOR is untouchable. I thought we all mutually understood that. I want to circle back to what you were discussing about like his fit, and I want to just take a step back and like, you know, unlike us, most people here watching, listening probably have lives and don't lock into multiple Bucks games. So I just want to talk a little bit about like what Giannis actually is at this point in his career and what he is not. Like you said, he's still remains probably one of the top 3 players, give or take, in the NBA. Monster. He's outscoring more than half of the NBA teams in points in the paint by himself. I think he averaged 22 points in the paint by himself, which is insane. He's still an elite rebounder. Crazy at drawing free throws. He has the highest on off of his career, which isn't really a surprise given how insane he's playing and how bad the rest of the Bucks are. The
They're
swings when
so
he's off
bad.
the court are
They're
I
so
think
bad.
I think it's like 18-point swing on in terms of net
Yeah,
rating or something crazy
I
like
can look it
that.
up right now.
I was, to prepare for this and also out of curiosity, I was like, let me watch. I want to watch part of the Knicks game versus the Bucks, and then I watched the Bucks versus the Hornets. They went to overtime, and there was one other game I forgot. And I was just focusing on Giannis on defense because that's more the thing I wanted to focus on.
Plus 18.6 net swing.
Yeah, wild stuff. So like you mentioned, he doesn't want to play center, at least historically.
No, he doesn't even want to fucking set screens. This guy, I'm like, what are you fucking 7 foot?
So
and
so
just
hold
look
on,
like a
hold
fucking
on.
Adonis for.
Let me. I just want to just do a little bit of description, and then different. I think different. My takeaway was like, well, let me just go through my thing. So like on defense, in the Knicks game, he mostly defended Josh Hart. That wasn't in the normal defend Josh Hart way, where like somebody is defending Josh Hart to roam and disrupt the offense, because that's what you would think, because that when Giannis was in his prime defensively, that's what he was best at, was not really being some lockdown one-on-one defender, although he was good. It was just being a terror in terms of like being the biggest, helpiest help defender you could possibly be.
The Greek freak,
One could say. And but now I don't know how much. I would say probably like 75% of this is Giannis, and then 25% of this is Doc's scheme, which is kind of jarring after watching Mike Brown's, everybody over help a little bit scheme one pass away. Like if you get beat in the Bucks scheme, like the center will help, Miles Turner will help, but aside from that, you're just kind of like, that's it. Like everybody else is gonna mostly try to stay to their person. So like Giannis is not out here like over helping, once one of his bummy teammates gives a drive by and or blow by, whatever. He just kind of is static. And like on defense, that's mostly what he is. He's static. He doesn't always defend low usage guys. Sometimes he does. In the Hornets game, he spent quite a lot of time on Miles Bridges, and Miles would try to set screens for Knipple and LaMelo and these other guys. And the Bucks game plan for that 99% of the time is just switch. So like they would try to get Giannis into the action, and then they would switch. And then when the ball handler does stay with Giannis in those situations, right? Like, and Giannis is on Miles, and then he gets switched onto a ball handler. What usually happens is they'll end up just passing the ball away. I think Giannis's size and reputation still does some work for him in terms of like guys don't really want to test him. When ball handlers with a little bit of speed do test him, you can get by him. And it's not just like we've seen Jalen Brunson do that, but it's not just Brunson. And he's huge, right? Like it's of course, if you're a fast NBA player and there's a 255-pound perimeter guy on you, like you can probably get past him. And there's not much help aside from Miles Turner, right? So like he's not some like it would be asking a lot to have him defend guards and ball handlers and stuff like that. But in general, like he's just not doing much, and I don't really mean that as like an insult or a compliment. It's just kind of is what it is. When guys do test him, I would say he can still do the damn thing, both at the rim and on the perimeter. It's just he can't do that as frequently. Thankfully, guys don't test him as frequently, but like when guys test him at the rim, he's still Giannis. His rim protection stats are still pretty solid. And again, he's not playing center most of the time. I think 3/4 of the time he's out there with Miles Turner or Bobby Portis, for example.
And even and I think some of the stuff that like this it's listed on Basketball Reference that 26% of his minutes are coming at the 5 this year. I don't even buy that number because I think they're basically labeling him a 5 in a lot of that he plays.
Yeah, and Portis would. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I do agree with you that like one, I don't asterisk is probably too dramatic, but like just from even in the off season, even in the summer, if they were to do like a Cat for Giannis deal, like we've seen Brown and Leon Rose get guys to buy into stuff, and I do wonder how much of that is like how much of both his desire to not play the 5 and his role of just being like very low activity on defense. There's plenty of times he could easily help more, contest more at the rim, and he just lets guys kind of just shoot. Like Miles Bridges, I think had probably like 8 points where he just kind of like shot on Giannis, and Giannis kind of just gave like whatever contests. But some of that, I think it would be unfair to honestly expect him to, at his age, with his style of play, carry the offensive burden that he has on Milwaukee, which is the highest in the NBA. Nobody has that physical of a creation burden, because unlike, Luka or some shit, Giannis's offense is like a quarter of it doesn't come from just him just like jumping into guys 20 feet away. It's just like,
and he's also not like Luka's a magician operating out of pick and rolls, right? Like he can manipulate the defense, bend it just with how he negotiates and navigates through like pick and roll coverages, and he can generate a 3 just by off that. Giannis he manipulates the defense, but it's in a very taxing way, right? Like he's like getting into the paint and he's gonna bang into bodies, and you're gonna have to
on offense. It's funny, his role, like one way I think he would fit in Brown's offense is like, it sounds kind of silly to say like Towns except for the threes, but like the same way Towns has the ball and then he'll do some like handoffs and then he'll just be like, okay, time to just be a heat-seeking missile and then Muay Thai uppercut somebody. Like that's kind of what Giannis just does like all the time. Not the uppercut, but just the like, I'm taking the ball from the 3-point line to the rim and nobody's has the combination of speed and strength to do anything about it. So like in that sense, I think he could fit while having the ball a lot.
In that context.
Yeah. And I do think like, because you can't just leave him alone. Like if they could convince him like, hey, like you can play the 5, you can do a little more on defense because your teammates are not Kyle Kuzma and Ryan Rollins and Miles Turner.
I got news for you. His teammate will be Kyle Kuzma. So.
I don't want to live in that timeline, bro. Let Leon Rosenbrock either figure it out in the offseason. We could reroute him back to DC where he has his cafe here for people who don't know, which is actually quite good randomly. But anyway, like quick, just like Giannis, like you mentioned, he's my greater point, I guess, is that like you have Towns, and I keep harping on Towns because I still think if it did happen, I still think Towns is the most likely one to come out, even though you could argue that like maybe if he plays hardball, you could do OG and Mitch or OG and Hart or whatever, right? Which those sure, maybe, but like if you trade, this is the thing: if there's a Towns package, there's either going to be a Towns and stuff package or OG and stuff package, right? So like I don't think they're trading Bridges. So if they trade Towns and stuff, you're trading a guy who is okay at defense and really good at offense for a guy who is okay at defense and really good at offense. It's just there's differences of degrees here, and I don't say that to minimize Giannis. Those degrees are the difference between Karl Anthony Towns being a top 20 player and Giannis being a top 5 player, right? So like that remains the same, right? You're still looking for like, okay, if Giannis wants to play the 5, then it's like, okay, we have to surround him with defense because he's not as bad as Towns at defense, but he's also not the guy he used to be on defense. So you're still facing a similar roster construction thing. And then if it's an OG deal, now you're looking at, okay, yeah, we have like Karl and Giannis together would be amazing on offense, but like again,
the defense he is a bad defender in 2025. Like this just needs to be what people accept.
I don't think Giannis I don't think he's a bad defender in 2025.
I think I watched him make fucking Alperen Şengün look like Kyrie Irving with off the dribble. Like that's like probably
I didn't watch the Rockets game. My thing is like
that might be the single dumbest defensive possession I've watched all season. And I say that having watched Karl Anthony Towns, having watched Josh Hart, like I think about that play every single day because I'm just like, I can't believe Giannis, like I can't believe he gave Alperen Şengün that moment that he will be on his fucking
We know
career
there is
reel.
no greater crime against Shwin than to give his ops a Hall of Fame highlight reel play. And aside from that, with that large asterisk, I truly think that, like, if you can get him in a place where he's expending 10-15% more energy on defense, it's not really
But is
unlikely.
he covered? Like, there's a difference between, like, OG, right? Obviously, he's not as good as Giannis overall, but OG is a guy who doesn't just do
There are
his
different
job
classes of
well on
players
defense.
there are different classes of players on
He
defense.
covers, like, he
Yes.
covers for guys. He is the
No,
scheme, right? Like,
Giannis is a guy
is not
on when
the
no,
days
he
of him.
correct.
The
When
days of
he's doing
him.
defense well in 2025, he's doing his job well. And it's not a crazy job like OG's job. It's he's doing the things he's supposed to do, not bonus shit, and he's doing it well. And there's things that he will never do, like stick with guards or whatever. Like, there's just things he'll never do, whatever. But, like, my point is, there are certain plays where you can see the calculus in his head where he's like, I'm just not gonna fucking jump. I'm not gonna do it, because, like, he literally can't. He can't, or else, like, you said the on-off split. Like, he literally can't do anything. And, like, there's definitely, like, his bad stuff, like you said, it's not passive. It's when he's trying to do more and it doesn't work. But, like, there's so many times just watching, I'm like, they're in a fucking crunch time game versus the Hornets, and, like, you can see him just being like, I can't do it. I'm sorry, like, I can't, like, go just try to punch Con Knippel's shot because he blew by, Trey Mann again or whatever. Like, and that's the kind of stuff where to me, it frankly reminds me of how we saw OG in Toronto and Mikal in New York with Tibbs, where it's like, I know you have more in the tank, but for one reason or another, some of it on court, some of it the coach, you're just like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. And I think, again, I don't think he can return to his prime, which was like a OG level, like, just like universe exploder on defense.
He was
But,
the
like,
defensive player of the year.
Yeah, but given, I forgot that, to be honest. That's crazy. But like, just given how good he is at offense, like, that's fine. So that's all a bunch of micro shit. Like, it still doesn't change the depth concerns that you mentioned, which to me are the number one thing that you have to figure out if you're considering this.
And I think so. I also think there's an element of, and this is, I understand it. Cat's awesome. Cat is not really a second creator to Brunson, so Brunson still has to carry an inordinate shot creation load. And even with improvement from Mikal Bridges this year, even with, Deuce, obviously he's improved, but he's improved more in terms of just, like, he's getting volume up from three. It's not like he's doing stuff off the dribble. And so the idea is, okay, well, if you go to once you're in the postseason, that's not enough. And this Knicks team's, like, maybe this Knicks team's offensive ceiling isn't quite as good as it looks in the regular season. I don't think that's unfounded or that it's baseless. I think there is an argument for that. What I will say is, I don't think people, like, the Knicks offense last year, right, in the postseason, I think almost everybody universally came out of that and was like, that was miserable. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing so many dumb things instead of just doing basic shit that will make you better? The Knicks offense last year in the postseason ranked 7th out of 16 teams. They were at 113.3 offense rating. This is on Basketball Reference. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who won the championship, the Indiana Pacers, who defeated the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals and pushed the Oklahoma City Thunder to 7 games in the NBA Finals, they had 115.3 offensive rating. Like, your path to this team winning a championship is the offense being better. And I don't know that you need to go get Giannis to, like, get that incremental improvement offensively. that you really ultimately need to get there. And I just, to me,
that fact
to,
coupled with the asset stuff that we've talked about is why you're seeing reports from CP, shout out CP, that like the Knicks aren't really interested. I don't think they're just saying that.
I think, look,
I
the
think
Knicks
they know that
would the
like they
Knicks,
want to see what they can do.
would the Knicks like Giannis on their team? Yes, they're not idiots. Everybody would like Giannis on their team. They're also like, yeah, but like we don't desperately need Giannis. Like we think our team is good enough to title largely with the pieces we have. And I tend to agree. I think that like if Yabu was just giving you what Yabu is supposed to give you, I feel like people would feel much better all of a sudden about their championship odds. And that's even with Mitch kind of looking a little mummy-ish, and that's with Josh Hart starting the season playing like fucking Ben Simmons or something. Like it's even with that stuff, like I don't think the Knicks need to make a seismic addition.
Here's what I'll say
They don't
about
need
the
to make a
offense with
seismic
Giannis.
change. They don't need to change everything about who they are as a team, which is effectively what you'd be doing if you get Giannis. If you're trading for Giannis, given the totality of what it would cost and his stature just as a player being as good as he is, it changes everything about how you operate. And personally,
I don't know if I agree with that. There's definitely ways where it does, but like if it's like Carl and stuff or like OG and Hart and stuff, like I still think the offense is just going to be the same but better. And the reason is like
here's the thing. How much better is the Knicks are third in offensive rating for this season. Right? They're at right now, their offense is it's 123.1 offensive rating. This is on Basketball Reference again. The Rockets have 123.3 offensive rating. They're second in the league. And then Denver, which this number is fucking ridiculous. They have 126.1 offensive rating, which is tops of the league. So the Knicks are top 3 offense. Even if we're and look, we all know this is not like exactly breaking news. It's harder to score in the playoffs. So even if the Knicks are not going to obviously have 123.1 offensive rating in the playoffs, can they get to the standard of what I was talking about? Can they get to like 115 and a half, 116 or something? Like, I think they absolutely can. I think they can do that with the personnel they even have on the roster right now.
They definitely can. Don't get me wrong. They definitely can. But
the offense is great. We agree with this. Like, and I don't while I think you're changing your identity pretty significantly, to be honest, the output is still going to be they're going to be an elite offense. I don't think there's really a question about that.
Right.
But what are you actually most in need of getting better at? Do you actually need to go make this, fucking massive change to go get Giannis to try and get an extra +1, +1.5 in offensive rating? Or is the clear side of the ball that you should be looking to address is how can we further give ourselves quality options defensively, where the Knicks rank 15th in defensive rating and is clearly their weaker side of the ball. And that's why when I look at this team, I'm not looking at it. I've never looked at it and been like, we're a Giannis away. Like,
So
which, you know what I mean?
here's the devil's advocate.
The change they need to make is not to, like, as far as I'm concerned, this group deserves the season. I do not look at this group and think it's fucking fundamentally flawed and there's no chance they can win a championship. This group is just can't do it.
I agree with that.
That to me is wrong. And once you feel that way, it's like if you think this team has like a 5 or 10% chance of winning a championship, your focus should not be on how do we blow this up to get Giannis. It should be how can we turn if Yabusele doesn't turn it around? How do we turn his contract and a couple, like a salary filler guy, into a meaningful bench piece, a big wing, whatever? Like, we mentioned Najee Marshall. Can you turn Yabu and a guy into Najee Marshall or something of that ilk? And I think just a move like that actually moves the needle on the margins enough that might actually get you to a championship level. Because, again, I want to point this out. The Indiana Pacers beat the Knicks in 6 games. They pushed Oklahoma City to 7. They beat the 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round. Do you know what their defensive rating was in the postseason last year?
Who?
The Indiana Pacers.
I know because I happen to have it pulled up.
Yeah. They were tied with the Knicks. This is why you can win a title being a okay-ish defense and an elite offense. And that is the Knicks' path to a title. That is what this group needs to be aiming for. Is that the path that you would love to? Like, yeah, would you like to be Oklahoma City? Yeah, I would like to have an awesome offense, maybe the best player in the league, and a historically great defense. Yeah, I would love that. Guess what?
Here's my thing. Here's my thing.
How many of those teams exist in the history of the NBA? Fucking like 3? You know what I mean?
Let me give you my theory. Let me give you my theory for the case. Let me give you my theory for the case. Okay, a couple of points, and I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think those are the big risks of a Giannis trade, which is why I'm hesitant to trade the depth. But to me, I think it would be completely reasonable if the front office had a couple of conclusions. One of which is like the Indiana Pacers got to the finals with a 114
Black magic
offensive rating, which was a lot of bullshit behind it. And I think that is not a crazy thing to say. I think they could also say the Thunder's offense was not good. They got there with SGA and a bunch of shit that led to 114 offensive rating, which is pretty good, but not that great. If you go to the year before, Boston's offensive rating in the playoffs was 117, and the Pacers' offensive rating that year was 120. Ironically, the Knicks that year was 118. Dallas's was 113. They also had an interesting route to the playoffs. The year before that, Denver had 118 offensive rating. So you do have some evidence that like it actually like 114, it can work, but it's not the mark of an offense that hold on.
Yeah.
It's not the mark of an offense that's like really tearing that shit up, except for in certain flashes. And then you also it's kind of like almost annoying to think this, but like to me, there's a very real world where like this front office is actually not in it for the second best award. And they understand that if they want to win a championship outside of relying on the odds of injury to SGA, they're going to have to be the greatest defense of all time, or at least of the last 20 years. And in order to do that, a 114, 15, 16, 17 offensive rating actually is not good enough. And it, you might not need it, right? Like again, the Pacers took them to 7 and maybe would have won if this fucking the Alabama doesn't get hurt after hitting 3 3-pointers. So there's a world where the front office is actually looking for that building the penthouse on top of a skyscraper as far as constructing an offense goes, which is kind of the metaphor I choose, given, like you said, how elite our offense is. And we don't even have a bench that has been doing well. And I think that like in this offense of like handoffs and drives and kickouts, these are all things that Giannis has been really good at some point in his career, right? This isn't some like pick and roll heavy. Karl is not getting the ball on rim runs and shit like that as a big man. He's not even getting the ball on pops, right? As much as we want, like you talked about. So like there's the things Giannis does on offense are things that Cat does, except Giannis does them better, and Cat does them well, right? Except for 3-point shooting, obviously. And I just think that there's a world where they look at that if he can play the 5, because like you said, if he really doesn't want to play the 5, then like I don't know what the fuck we're talking about here, to be honest, because like it just doesn't make sense that we're just gonna pull like a stretch 5 out of our butts who is like a starter on a championship team or something like that even next year. So I think that there's like that's kind of the argument for it. And in terms of diversity of offense, it strengthens your bench units in a way that it makes your lack of a bench wing matter less, because now it's not Cat create offense in a season where for some reason you can't really hit 2-pointers without giving somebody a Street Fighter Sagat uppercut to the face. And so it mitigates some of those problems as well. And I think that just just, I know like historically that has also been like like that. Is it worth like tripling down on the thing you're good at? Like we had a similar discussion to this way back when the Celtics first acquired Kristaps, right? And it ended up being moot because Kristaps wasn't even fucking healthy, to your point,
Yeah.
right? And their offense was like good enough, basically good enough without him for a championship. But we did see that when he was healthy for them, they were blowing motherfuckers out of the water, right? That ended up being a point that was moot because again, this guy had whatever he has and is Kristaps and it didn't play. But like building that penthouse on top of the skyscraper, like it's a viable plan. It definitely has risks, all the ones you outlined, but like I think it's Sagat is a boomer Street Fighter 2 reference. Bro, if people don't know who Sagat from Street Fighter is, that's not my problem. Go play some OG video games. I don't know what y'all be playing, Fortnite, whatever the kids be playing. I'm not interested is the point.
So
I don't know where I fall
here's
on either of this to be clear. Like I'm still kind of working it out.
so if you just look at the playoffs last year, the Knicks had 115.2 offensive rating with Towns and Brunson on the floor in 493 minutes. They had 120.1 offensive rating with Brunson on the floor and Towns off, and then they had a 109.71 offensive rating with Towns on, Brunson off.
Yeah, that was those terrorist DeLon Wright super defense.
Yeah, their defense was great in those minutes. They had
Those were
100
fun units. I just don't want to
Yeah.
experience them ever again. That's
Yeah,
all.
they had 100 defensive rating in those minutes without
Shout out
Towns. They
DeLon
actually
Wright.
were, they were plus 9.7 with Towns on, Brunson off, which is kind of nuts in the postseason. What I think is like, I think that is ultimately where you fall on like the need for the Knicks to get Giannis or how aggressive the Knicks should be to get Giannis ultimately falls on, in my opinion anyway, what or if the front office looks at this and they're like, we feel like we need to get Giannis, it should be because you think even with all the good stuff that Mike Brown is adding and all this stuff, that just that alone, it's not going to be enough when Brunson's off the floor. The team can't create good enough offense. They can't create good enough looks.
And you're
That
ultimately talking about like 12 minutes a game in the playoffs, right?
right,
Like give or
right,
take.
and
So
but
that means
that
you think those
yeah,
12 minutes might be the
that
difference
that will
between winning
be
and
your
losing.
that will be your undoing. If
Mm-hmm.
that's where you fall in it, okay, fine, fair enough. Like then even if I don't agree with that assumption, like then I understand why you feel like they need to go get Karl Anthony Towns, or sorry, go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Where I only my two pieces though are I actually don't feel that way. Like I feel like they can get enough offensively, even with Brunson off the floor, um, with what they have available to them, good enough to win a championship. Like I think they can get to 117, 118 type offensive rating with what they have. Because say, unlike a team like Oklahoma City, or unlike a team, and this could change for Oklahoma City depending on how they all look when with
Sure.
Jalen Williams back now and whatever. But a team that's ahead of them in terms of offensive rating anyway, a team like Houston is I I'm still very skeptical about this Houston offense come postseason time. Like I think they're going to be good. I think they'll be effective. I just don't fully buy. And I thought this about the Knicks too. We talked about this a bunch when the Knicks were like we
Shwin, you
just
guys
drift.
may not know, but Shwin may not believe in Kevin Durant.
Yeah, no, that's not. I mean, that's its own fucking thing. But like the idea of like the winning the possession battle will be enough to like keep our offense elite in the postseason. I don't buy that. I think you need shot makers. I think you need to be able to hit shots, and that there's a limitation to, um, kind of eschewing shot making for winning on possession battle stuff. Um, I think there's a limit to that, and I think the Knicks
The
can do
Knicks have
both,
hit
right?
that
They can,
limit.
yeah, and the Knicks, the Knicks can They can do both. They still have that ability to go punish you on the offensive glass to get extra possessions, but they have a lot of good shot makers and they have a lot of guys that can space the floor, and there's a lot of ways they can threaten you. And yes, would it be nice if they had one more guy that could really attack a bent defense or even bend a defense themselves off the bounce? Of course it would. It would be great. Obviously, we would love that. Most teams don't actually have that many guys that can do that. And I just don't. I'm sorry. Like if we were getting Giannis from 3 years ago, this is obviously a totally different conversation, and I don't know that I wouldn't feel the same way. But I don't think you're not getting the Giannis from 3 years ago. I think he's as I mentioned previously, I think he's leaned really, really into this Helio thing, which in some ways means you're probably getting less out of Brunson if you acquire Giannis. That might still be worth it in the wash. Like if you look at it, the aggregate of it
it's
all.
not
Like,
more. It's not more or less so much as like the off-ball stuff that he's great at that we've seen this season that we didn't see last season. That would just continue to be dialed up.
Yeah, it'd be dialed up, and maybe that's fine. Maybe that's optimal, and maybe the net of that is all worth it. But it's going to be the Giannis show, and I'm sorry, like his play style at 31 years old, with the type of injuries that he's been picking up over the last couple of years, it doesn't make me feel great. It does not make me feel great. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't actually know how. I think everybody can value that it's their own way, right? Like people can, if you think the risk is worth it, and yes, the injury risk is there, but the level of talent you're getting with Giannis makes that injury risk palatable. That's fair. Like I just worry about that.
I feel like for me personally, I think and you're alluding to this, I think I come out a little bit on the other side where like it will be the Giannis show, but like you said before, like right now it's probably already the Brunson show a little too much as it is because Karl's not really a creator. And to me, unlike Dame, Brunson knows what the fuck he's doing as an off-ball player. Dame was still good that year where he killed it, but it was not. No, don't try to like change that shit either because he was not doing shit off-ball, bro.
I'm not. But I don't think you can do shit.
They didn't have
offensive.
They didn't have offensive synergy at all.
But their offense is literally when Giannis has the ball, it's everybody space the floor and watch him.
You don't think it has to be that though?
No, I think it has
what
to
would be your ideal offense with the Bucks?
To be that.
Right.
It has to be that. But that's my problem. Is like
I don't think it has to be that on the Knicks.
I think that is what Giannis wants. I think Giannis wants to play that way. I think this is exactly what he wants. I don't buy this idea that he's just doing this because this is what they have. He was doing this with Dame on the fucking team.
That's what Dame doesn't do shit. I mean, Dame doesn't do off-ball shit.
That's my point, though.
Dame is a pick and roll guard. They stupidly
But you can't run pick and roll with Giannis because he doesn't roll.
We don't run pick and roll.
Because he won't do it.
No, I mean the Knicks don't. The Knicks don't run pick and roll. Cat doesn't roll. We don't do that right now.
Yeah, but Cat pops. That's a different dynamic.
Well, we don't take advantage of it. Pick and roll is not. Nobody would describe the Knicks offense as pick and roll heavy.
See, that's a different thing. We don't take advantage of it is different than we don't do it. We do it. We don't take advantage of it. That's a different thing entirely.
But that's not. My point is that would not change. The fact that this is not an offense that relies on the pick and roll, it would not change. That statement would not change with Giannis.
The entire point is you feel if I have Giannis and I have Brunson, it's like when they had Giannis and they had Dame, the entire point was okay. Maybe you don't need it you don't need it every possession, obviously.
Right.
But when we need it at the end of games, we can go to that and it's going to be great. And it wasn't. It wasn't. If I have Brunson and I have Giannis, sure, we don't need to run pick and roll 5,000 times a game. I'm fine with that. I think that's a good thing. At the end of games, I want the option to run a pick and roll with Giannis. And this guy has not wanted to do any of this shit since they won the title. Basically, since they won the title, he's like he's not about that life. He's not trying to be the role man the way he was with Middleton.
It's not
in the ways they closed out those games in the finals.
He's not good at it. You're right. He's not good at it.
Because he doesn't. He uses the pick and roll. This is exactly what it is. He's obviously significantly better than this.
Let me tell you what a late game Brunson Giannis play looks like.
Hold on. What he wants to do when he sets a fucking screen, he does the Randall. That's what he does. He does the Randall. If he will roll. You know where he's gonna roll to? The fucking elbow. And then he's gonna get his hand up and he wants the ball. And then everybody else has to dot the floor and wait for Giannis to figure it out. Obviously, he's great at that. It's very successful. They're gonna have a great offense, or they do have a great offense, even with that. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't really believe that his current style of play is.
I guess where I differ on my
I doubt the ceiling. I doubt the ceiling more than others do, I guess is what I say.
I guess this is where I think I agree with you completely on like his pick and roll habits that are like hilariously Randall like. He's just way more dominant at the scoring parts of it than Randall. I think the handoff stuff is actually slightly different than like the kind of pick and roll stuff you see with that we saw, quote unquote, pick and roll stuff that we saw them try with I was gonna say Drew with Dame. I think with the handoff stuff, I think he's much more intuitive and open about that stuff, right? You see them killing.
No,
they killed the Knicks with AJ with the 2-man game with AJ fucking Green, and a lot of his assists come off of like similar to Towns, like those handoffs where he does the what is that called in football? Play action. This is how you know I'm a football connoisseur.
Whoa.
Play action, bro. There's my one football reference for the pod. And then he'll take one dribble and then hit the whoever fucking bum is wide open, right? Kyle Kuzma or some shit. But in the Knicks' current offense, you know, where there's a little bit more motion, I think that is what the 2-man game with Brunson and Giannis is like. It's not just like a traditional pick and roll. It's a handoff where like he can do the Towns thing where Towns will pass it to Brunson on the move. He can do the thing where he passes it to Deuce like AJ Green style, right? He can do that, right? That's where his assists come from.
I'm lower on his passing than you. That's fundamentally where I disagree with.
I think his DHO offense passing is different than his pick and roll passing.
What you're describing to me is the type of passer that I think, like, obviously peak LeBron is this type, Luka is this type of passer.
Well, those are
like these guys are like, if you know, they see it as it's happening. I don't know exactly how to describe it. Well, like, they don't need the floor static. I think Giannis needs the floor static. And I something about that just irks me. And that's a total, like, that's just me. Like, you can show me the numbers and the numbers are great. I think they had like over the last, forget this season, but the previous 2 years, even with Dame on the floor, they had 121.4 offensive rating. With Dame off and Giannis on, they had 121.1 offensive rating. So, like, he is an offense unto himself. But something about that aesthetic to me, I don't like it, and I don't trust it in 4 rounds of playoff basketball with how good NBA defenses are at this point. And I feel like I don't know that. I think you need to get more out of, like, Brunson would obviously be your second option then. I'm unsure that a second option with Giannis playing the way he is now can be dynamic enough in how you would play.
No, I agree 100%. You are absolutely. I think the main offensive gamble is that the Giannis, in whatever Mike Brown imagines, is in many ways not going to resemble the Giannis that we have right now with Doc Rivers. Like, so we can differ on the odds there, but like that is 100%. That would be the logic.
If that's the logic, and
if they're trying to bring the Doc Rivers Milwaukee offense to the Garden, then we got bigger issues.
Yeah. And I guess where I am just unsure about it is, like, I think, just based on the stuff Giannis has said, he's talked about, like, he wants to be a point guard and, like, he wants the ball in his hands and all this stuff. I think he wants that. Like, I think that's what he wants. Maybe that's different if he comes to New York and, like,
we'll get him a mansion in Astoria. He'll be good, bro. We got him.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think he's a superstar. Obviously, he is. You know, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. His credentials are endless, and you know, he's done literally everything that you could do as an NBA player. He's won a championship. He's won Defensive Player of the Year. He's won MVP multiple times. He's won Finals MVP. Like, his stature is different than even a Karl Anthony Towns, right? Karl Anthony Towns came in and you would
they're in different
is there,
sections of
is
the Hall
there
of Fame.
right? Is there are you going to have to adjust to Towns to some extent? Sure, but you expect a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, he's going to have to adjust to you also. I don't know that dynamic isn't the same with Giannis. That doesn't mean like you could be right, I could be totally wrong on this. Where if you're right, then then that changes exactly. Like your offensive ceiling
That's the gamble. That's
is
the
different
gamble. That's the
in the
gamble.
playoffs.
Yeah.
I just don't like the idea of if even if that's
I'll tell
right,
you
I
what. How
still
much?
work
Like, how many times have we
the
seen
center
Giannis like
the center
Giannis's ball
position
no?
is just very iffy to me. Like if Towns is going out on a deal,
And
then
we've
it's like
seen
okay,
Giannis be involved in the coaching searches and like like anytime like in his Bucks tenure where like the Bucks rely on Giannis's ball knowledge, it generally doesn't go well. So like this is what I'm saying. Like to your point, like you have to on some level impose is probably too strong a word, but you're basically like getting this guy who's like a pantheon level Hall of Famer and being like, hey, this is how it's gonna be. And that's always a dicey proposition, right? Like that's like to put it as simply as possible. Like that's always a dicey proposition.
yeah.
You wouldn't do that with
Also,
LeBron. You wouldn't do that with
yeah.
Giannis in most cases. Like it is what it is.
Also, like if Giannis, like, again, in addition to what you're talking about, if Giannis came in and was like, I'm down to play the 5 a lot, yeah, that would change a lot for me. Then I'd be like, okay, like that
that
is
would also
fucking
solve the
huge.
other thing I was talking about, which is like, hey, guess what? We'd have one solid rim protector. Boom. Like
Yeah, well, I mean, it's obviously
again,
different
the
playing
bar is
center
I'm
than
talking prime
before. Yeah,
Tristan
yeah, yeah.
Thompson bar. Okay, that's my bar right
Yeah.
now.
No, yeah. I'm saying like it's obviously a different thing, like rim protecting at the 4, rim protecting at the 5. But yeah, like I think that's where the unknowns of this, I think, obviously matter. How confident are you in that stuff? I think I have a lot lower confidence than you have in terms of what, how much do the Knicks bend to Giannis if in a scenario where he comes to the Knicks? How much does Giannis bend to
Yeah, I feel
kind
you.
of be a better teammate? I guess for lack of a better kind of way to phrase it. I don't think Giannis is a shitty teammate, by the way. That's where I'm uncertain. And
Giannis's words give
yeah,
me uncertainty, but then I look at his face during like half these plays on both ends with the other team, like versus the Hornets, like oh my god, in the fourth quarter in the overtime, like I think like he was like seconds away from murdering his teammates like multiple times just for like botching both ends, like botching shit. And I was like, bro, like this like I felt genuinely bad for him. Like I'm like, no wonder this motherfucker started putting in the phone calls again this week because this was depressing. Like
yeah, I think the urgency with which the Knicks should be like trying to get Giannis or whatever is all basically like it boils down to something very big. Like, do you believe in this team or not? If you don't believe in this team, then obviously you should be like, yeah, we need to go get Giannis.
if you do,
It
then you
seems
can
like
be extremely picky and annoying about it, which is my prediction for how they're going to
that's the
approach this.
this is what the Lakers do. This is how the Lakers win every fucking major trade they ever make because they're just like, yeah, we like Powell, but we'll wait. We like. It's like, and then eventually a superstar falls in the lap or whatever. But like, I don't know. Yeah, like the Knicks can afford to be. They should be picky. Like they're
Yes.
very very good.
OKC is
They've
historically
been
good, but the Knicks window is also not just this year. So
yeah,
you can do that.
and
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, OKC's window is also not just this year.
Listen, stop bringing up all
Sad
this
state of
extraneous
affairs.
shit, bro.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to be? How much in the mix are you? Is really like, do you really feel like you have a chance to win a championship? And honestly, like aside from OKC, I wouldn't go into any series against any team and be like,
No, 100%.
oh shit. And
I don't think
also
I don't think the front office fully knows. I like to our earlier discussion. I think they completely understand that like the offense they have not they have this offense is elite, but they have not reached the ceiling, right? Towns has only just started to like his impact stats have been great, but like his shooting has not been, right? Like the guy's just been missing shots that are normally not difficult for him. So like even with his impact stats being good, that means it can go even higher, right? OG's been out. Deuce
Yeah,
only just started to percolate, right? Like, there's
and then
higher
like
heights here.
there's just so many angles to it, the Giannis trade, because it's like, if you did get Miles Turner on Giannis trade, obviously that changes, like,
Right.
that would change my aggressiveness about, like, okay, well, this definitely feels a little bit better now, because now you have the
You'd
type of 5
welcome
that you
Kyle
need next to
Kuzma to
Giannis.
Tarrytown.
Yeah, well, Kyle Kuzma can drive the team around or something. But yeah, like, I don't know. It's very interesting to think about, because almost never. I mean, we were doing this exercise yesterday. I just can't remember a single time a 50 plus win team that had the outline of being a contender made some, like, because
Yeah.
it's a high end version of it, but it's like you would
It's like
effectively
it's
be
like a
doing a
steroid version of
consolidation
the
trade.
Kristaps trade. It's like a steroid version of the Kristaps trade where everybody was like, at the time, remember, everybody was like, damn, bro, you guys already have like the highest O rating of all time. Like, what the fuck you need Kristaps for? And then it like sort of worked and sort of didn't. So like, yeah, you're right. Like, it's unique historically, like if it were to happen, whether now or later. But then again, the entire way the Knicks team has built has been unique, right? Like, they're just a weird front office. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, they haven't drafted their superstar, right? Nobody gifted them their fucking.
Their
I mean, I
their
guess we kind of
biggest
got
pick
gifted
trade
Brunson,
their
but
biggest pick trade was for Mikal Bridges. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
it's obviously
right.
different.
A
Um,
22 usage guy or whatever. I know usage flawed,
yeah.
blah 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 blah.
His usage is probably, like, I think it's like 16 and a half right now.
That's so
But
crazy. I know usage
yeah,
is misleading, but that's like the best example of it.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Something about the Giannis thing, it feels a little
It
it
feels a
feels
little
like you're
scary.
it's not even scary. It feels a
Like you
little
flying too close to the sun.
yeah, it feels a little like you're stargazing and you don't actually maybe need to. Like, it's like, no, like, I think you have your pieces. But the other thing is, look, historical precedent is what it is, generally
You
speaking,
need
to
a
win a
top
champion.
player.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need an MVP
I
caliber
was I
player.
was
The Knicks
actually I
don't
was
have an
actually
MVP
thinking about
caliber
this.
player.
I was actually thinking about this real quick. I think the best analog, like Giannis aside, the best analog for a team like the Knicks winning the championship is the Celtics, where they have a guy who was right outside MVP combos in Tatum, and then they had, to your point about like, let's really make the depth ironclad, like ironclad as fuck, where like the worst player on your team is Sam Hauser, who's a solid defender and a really fucking elite player on offense at what he does, right? Like, that was the worst player the Celtics were throwing out there in the playoffs for the most part, unless I mean, you could say it was Pritchard, I guess, but like, that's kind of, a superstar, a Giannis trade aside, that's what the Knicks are going for, right? They want to have a guy who's right knocking on those doors of those MVP conversations, but probably won't get in Brunson. And then three other
Outside the club.
guys. He's right outside the club, but he's like outside the club in a limo or some shit. And then you have three dudes who are basically all-stars separate from that guy, or all-star level production. And then you have 5 through 8 who are starting on a not insignificant number of other teams, right? Like, and in the meantime, your defense is just good enough, right? Because remember, Kristaps hurt. Who is their center? Horford, good at defense, but nobody's confusing him with fucking prime Dikembe at the rim. He was more great playing defense away from the rim than he was at the rim. And again, not saying Cat is a Horford level defender or whatever, but like, that bar is
I
like
hope not.
it's team defense that makes you just good enough so that your offense can just cook. And so like, that Celtics team, down to the 3-pointers, actually generated differently, but like down to the 3-pointers and the depth is kind of the blueprint. So it's like, are you going to maintain that course, or are you going to go for what you said was, what we've seen play out more historically? But I wanted to mention that because that's recent, right? And like, that also is precedent. So and the Pacers, again, like, who knows? Maybe Hallie doesn't get hurt and they still lose game 7, but like, they were right there, and they also fit into that category of like, you have a guy who's probably like outside the superstar, who's outside the MVP combos, and then pretty good depth, and then some good luck, and that was enough to get them to Game 7, right? Versus a historically good team. So it's not unheard of. In fact, we've seen it 2 years in a row. Actually,
Yeah, it's
it's
just
not like Leon Rose is like, oh, all I'm doing is just hoping that we can get to the finals and maybe SGA can get hurt. Like, that's my point. It's not that you were saying that, but like, to me, like, if they maintain the course, it's more than just like, oh, like we're, anything can happen. Like, it's more than that, actually. Like,
this sounds very stupid to say because it's like patently obvious, but if you trade for Giannis, like you have to be right. You know what I mean? Like you have to be right. You can't, because once you make that, if you did trade for Giannis, it's kind of like the only move you have left to you available at that point is probably more like if it doesn't work, I'm saying you're out of your chances to like, oh, let me add
no, that's
this
it, bro.
piece here.
That's
Let me
it,
add,
bro.
at
It's
that,
downhill
yeah,
after that.
yeah. After that, it's okay. We probably need to consider like cashing out here. And that's, I don't know. I like where this team is at. I know that they're already like very much obviously, committed
Having
in terms of
your
resources.
your elite team created through more pieces rather than less inherently gives you more flexibility. That's like just what it is.
Yeah, and I think they're in a good place with it. I don't know. I feel very conflicted about this because like I like Towns and I I
I still
think
think
I
Towns
like
can be a top 10 impact guy in the NBA if he
he is right now, right? He is right now, according to EPM, right? So
well, EPM
um
says he's in the 94th percentile on defense, which like I'm as
he's
optimistic as anybody, but
that's actually a Mitch stat, which is not great. But
don't look at Mitch's
yeah,
EPM.
yeah, don't look at Mitch's EPM. But yeah, it's I guess for me it's
Just
like
don't look at Mitch. Mitch, you know what Mitch needs to do to get his impact back? Get a fucking haircut, bro. Mitch, you
the
out here looking all right. Mitch needs to get his ankle right, get a haircut. If he doesn't do that, he's gonna be out the door.
the main two things I think with this roster construction as is, like let's just say they go with this team into the playoffs, is are Brunson and Cat, if they're on the floor together, are they too flawed and too, you're able to kind of bring both of them into the action type stuff? Like, is that just too hard to overcome? Um, can your offense overcome it? Can you, just kind of throw enough shit there defensively that you can hold water with those guys on the floor? And then the other thing is like, just if Mitch gets back to being Mitch and like everything else stays relatively the same, that I can't say this enough. Like Mitch getting back to like what he was at the end of last year, it's it would
It's a
be
game changer. Then you're
it
talking
it would be
about yet
huge.
another player who again, I want to say this like very clearly. He's not an all-star, but like in a matchup, he can have all-star impact, right? Because you're talking about a guy who's even now in his reduced state, like his offensive impact is gargantuan, even with him shooting fucking 10% from the free throw line. And then he's just not giving you anything on defense right now. But like, that's the reason why he swings playoff series, because he's a plus on offense and he's historically been really good on defense. Like that, that's insane to just pull that out of your ass as like the fifth or sixth guy on your team as a playoff team. Like that's crazy to pull a player who's that. You go look at the fifth guy on any championship team. Like it's not that, right? Like that's a super luxury that most teams don't have. So like that is absolutely a game changer. Then you're talking about five guys who can have fairly consistent, like you're talking EPMs that are like you know whatever your grain, whatever, however much mileage you get out of EPM or whatever stat. Like you're talking about five guys who have very very high level impact, like top 30-40 player impact, and that's not something to scoff at, right? Like that's extremely rare. So again, it's
Like you
similar
mentioned,
to what
that's
Boston had.
effectively what the Celtics. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what Boston had. I just want to wrap up with this because I did mention this yesterday in our Discord. I said something along the lines of like, I think this team needs more perimeter-oriented players, which was a terrible way of phrasing what I was trying to say. But it's like why I think Najee
You
Marshall
mean
is
on
like.
offense, like ball
I just
handlers,
think
or
well, what I meant by that is like, I think you need the more. It always feels to me like when the team is rolling, when they're like, they had 146 yesterday, it's because they're they have multiple guys on the floor who it's again, it sounds so stupid to say, so they can dribble, pass, and shoot. But like what I mean perimeter oriented, I guess I mean guys whose skills are on both ends of the floor are more tilted towards
I see.
like
Doing
rangy
stuff away
covering
from the
space.
hoop. Okay.
Covering space and those type of
Najee's
things. And
perfect in that, except for the shooting, but like he's a great
well,
ball
it's
handler.
well, and that's where I wonder if like do you need to get Giannis to get that extra ball handling? Which if there was a deficiency with this team, it's absolutely the fact that they don't have a lot of great ball handling. Although Tyler Kolek, I see you, bro. Not really, but like, Najee Marshall is not amazing or anything. He's not an all-star. He's never going to be an all-star, but he is that. I think he does have just a little bit more ability on the ball, and you can't defend him with a small. You know what I mean? So like,
He's got a little bit
it
of that,
changes things.
like for people who don't watch Dallas, which I hope is most of you. Like if y'all remember kind of how like Jaquez was playing on the Heat versus us, Najee's not like sprinting up the floor like Miami's weird offense, but in that same way where like genuinely like 6'8" can handle the ball, can bully, can get to shots at the rim, is confident enough to like run a pick and roll, to drive, to pass. Like that's how Najee Marshall is. Like he truly has guard handle. He just can't, like Jaquez, he's not a reliable shooter. But like again, you're talking about a bench player here. And Hart, for all his like Hart can handle the ball, but I wouldn't quite say he has like point guard handle. He just has good handle for a wing. Najee Marshall actually has like guard ball handler handle. It's like
Yes,
it's different.
yes, that's the thing. Like
It's not good for a wing. It's like good for a guard.
he's and I, one reason I think, I know you got to get out of here, so we'll wrap up. But like a reason why I do wonder sometimes about why is it that Brunson, because he's such a great offensive player, to score at the level he does, you have to have a great sense of awareness of what's happening and where everybody is on the floor. But I feel like one of the reasons why maybe he's not such a good pick and pop passer is I wonder if like making that pass out sometimes
It's hard for
feels
him. He's
difficult.
short.
Yeah, it's because he's short.
Yeah,
And
totally.
obviously Najee is not going to command the type of attention Brunson does. But I do think, just like you mentioned, because he can guard the ball, like, or handle the ball really, really well for his size.
If the defense
Just that,
messes up and just leaves like Carl Towns open, like
right?
it's super easy for Najee Marshall.
He can just find. He gives you just that a little bit. Just one more guy who can like actually bend the defense a little bit and find the correct shooters, which they just have a lack of. And even Brunson himself, because I think of his size, struggles with it at times. So I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
reason why
Najee
Hart gets a
Marshall,
lot of assists doing that, right? Like we don't have a lot of
yeah,
guys who can play that role, and Hart, to his credit, can do that, right? Like, and having
yeah,
we know that's one of the main things in this offense is like empowering players to do that. Mikal, no one's gonna confuse Mikal's handle with point guard handle. He gets to do that. Hart gets to do that. Najee would fit in very well in that respect.
yeah. I mean, the shooting concern is real, but it's like, well, yeah, but that's why you might be able to get him.
Yeah,
like, that's why you might be able to get him, is because
Peter
he's
Patton
not.
got him.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if having a tall version of Josh Hart is, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
He's like tall Josh Hart, but like less crazy, both in both directions, like the good and the bad. Like,
Yeah. Shout out Josh Hart, man. One thing I'm very much enjoying about Josh Hart is he is continuing to shoot, even though his 3-point shot has gone away from him of late. I
he's
think
a
that's
little off
very, very,
balance lately. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure the main tweak. I've been trying to figure this out for weeks. The main tweak is like Josh does this thing where sometimes it looks like he's standing, he jumps, and it's like the floor is tilted like a little to the
yeah.
left or a
He
little to the
fades,
right.
like turns
Yes,
this.
exactly. Thank you for doing it on the video. Like when he was killing from three, like he's just up and down, actually, like normal, like a normal shooter, and the ball goes straight. And I noticed I'm like, stop leaning, bro. So we'll get him right. We got a day off to get him right.
But look, I think the more important than anything is look, mechanics are, you got to iron that out and get consistent with it.
You got to
The
keep
biggest thing
shooting.
is,
You got to
just keep shooting. Like, and it is so funny to like that Hornets game. I love that game from him. I think he went 1 of 5 or 0 for 5 from 3 or whatever it was. But I was like, yeah, but like he shot when he should shoot, and even sometimes where I was like, oh, okay, like that was actually kind of contested on that 3. But all right, I'm cool with that.
It was
It's
funny,
good.
like this is the last thing I'll say because I gotta run. But in the
Gotta go be a
blowout,
good dad.
versus the Jazz, there was a couple plays like late in the second half, not late, just in the second half where he was wide open, and like he knows he should have shot it, but he was like, "We're up 35. I'm just gonna like dribble the ball and not shoot it." And like you could see in his face being like, "I know I'm supposed to shoot it, but like we're on chill mode, so I'm just gonna dribble it here."
Yeah. Yeah, I will say most of my Giannis reservations have to do with this season. Like, I think in the offseason, I want to see what this group does. I think they deserve a chance.
I think I do too.
And
I think fortunately for both of us, that is what I bet will happen. I don't think anybody's going to end up trading for Giannis. I'll end with that prediction.
Yeah, that would also be my prediction. I think he ends up staying in Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee ends up making some type of potentially stupid
Ja
short-term
Morant,
move.
you are a brewer, or not a brewer, a buck.
A brewer. Damn, bro. Fucking getting in the baseball mood already?
It never stops, bro. I just don't I don't bore everybody with it. That's all.
Your mom won't allow you to not think about baseball 24/7.
No, my mom actually turns it off. She's not trying to hear about like, oh, what's the hot stove season like, and who's trading arbitrate. She doesn't give a fuck about any of that, dude.
She's like, when is Aaron Judge playing?
Tell me. She's like, did we get a cool Japanese player? No. All right, I'll see you in a couple months. Like,
did Hal push the payroll past 300 million? No. Okay. All right. Great.
Cool. See ya. Yeah, that's basically like my off-season conversations with her.
All right. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No. Strickland podcast continue to be great. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. I will. Oh, just to mention, tomorrow, Tyrese and I believe Luca are doing the rundown after the Knicks Magic game. So tune in for that. I will be watching football, unfortunately, but if you aren't, tune in for the post-game show. All right. Thanks everybody again for the comments. Thank you to FanDuel for sponsoring this. That is the show for today. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Peace.